Hey y'all, K.Short here, and welcome to our first book summary of the channel. I thought that there's no better book to start with than one that is practically a classic at this point, and it's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Um, this book, to be completely honest, has been on my radar for years. It was written in 1999, and I was only 9 years old at the time, but I remember it being all over the world. Specifically, it was on Oprah's show, and so I just remember her having that conversation with this gentleman, this now spiritual teacher, and just realizing the simplicity about it. The second time that it came around into my ether was in college. I had an ex partner started reading it, and for some reason, in the past couple months, it just started calling on me. And so I love going to the library. The library has always been a safe haven for me. And so I thought, you know what, let's see if it's actually available at the San Diego downtown library. And so it was, and I'm just finishing it up. I'm literally on the last few pages of it, but I just felt super inspired to record this for all of you today because I feel like now more than ever, it's so important for us to be in the present. And I know that seems so cheesy and cliche, but I really feel like with everything that's going on in the world right now, in terms of like humanity specifically, just being in the present of now is so important. And so, again, with this book, this is a groundbreaking book that has transformed millions of lives worldwide. It's been translated into so many different languages because that's how powerful it is. And this book is about, oh gosh, it's 191 pages long, but it's literally just saying the same thing over and over again. And what I really loved about the book overall is that there are moments in here where basically there are readers who are asking questions. For instance, I just pulled up on page 55. It says, I have had glimpses of this state of freedom from mind and time that you describe, but past and future are so overwhelmingly strong that I cannot keep them out for long. And then he answers, the time-bound mode of consciousness is deeply embedded in the human psyche. But what we are doing here is part of a profound transformation that is taking place in the collective consciousness of the planet and beyond. The awakening of consciousness from the dream of matter, form, and separation, the ending of time. We are breaking mind patterns that have dominated human life for eons, mind patterns that have created unimaginable suffering on a vast scale. I'm not using the word evil. It is more helpful to call it unconsciousness or insanity. Again, this is on page 55. So if you end up going to the library, that's where I'm reading this out of, where he's talking about the quantum leap in the evolution of consciousness. Just that in itself, y'all, I'm just going to be super transparent. I just opened up a page and I feel like this part right here is already so profound, and just sharing a little bit of what's in this book. And just right here, the fact that we're reading this book, it was written in 1999, and I was, here during that time. But I think now I'm thinking, what it means to be human today. Like the fact that this book is being read, that this book was manifested through him, and to read this page on 55 to be like, this is the time that we get to be human today, that we are the humans right now on planet Earth that are pushing towards a quantum leap in the evolution of consciousness. Again, I just want to read this paragraph one more time because it's so profound. Um, and I know it's something that dawns on all of us, the concept of time. And so, again, the audience and the reader says or asks, I have had glimpses of this state of freedom from mind and time that you describe. The past and future are so overwhelmingly strong that I cannot keep them out for long. Again, y'all, if you remember, past is why we become depressed, future is why we feel anxiety. So the time bound mode, so he answers, the time bound mode of consciousness is deeply embedded in the human psyche, deeply embedded right in here. But what we are doing here is part of a profound transformation that's taking place in the collective consciousness of the planet and beyond. The awakening of consciousness from the dream of matter, form, and separation. I'm going to read that again. The awakening of consciousness from the dream of matter, form, and separation. We're awakening the fact that we are not separated from each other. But right now, in 2024, we feel very, very separated and divided. So that's why I'm just saying, like, oh my gosh, we're alive and human today during this time where we are awakening up to this dream that we've all just collectively created together. And let's be real, sometimes dreams aren't always good, y'all. For a lot of people, it might feel like we're in a nightmare right now. And a lot of people might feel like literally hell on earth. And so the fact that we get to be human today and be a part of this quantum leap in the evolution of consciousness is so fascinating and incredible to me. And so I just want you to like take that in and like feel that excitement, be like, hey, we get to be a part of this quantum leap. So again, the awakening of consciousness from the dream of matter, form, and separation. The ending of time. I know your brain's like, what? There's no such thing as time? The ending of time. Okay, well, I guess there's a such thing as time to some extent if we're ending it, right? But just like think about that. What would life look like if time did not exist? What would life look like if we lived as if time did not exist? Does time actually exist, or is it all an illusion? We are breaking mind patterns that have dominated human life for eons. I don't know how long an eon is. If you could do me a favor and Google that for me and drop it in the comments below, how long is an eon? Mind patterns that have created unimaginable suffering on a vast scale. So mind patterns, right? Like our brains like to find patterns. And unfortunately, we've created patterns that have created unimaginable suffering on a vast scale. And he says, I'm not using the word evil. It is more helpful to call it unconsciousness or insanity. And so then, of course, the audience member or the reader says, this breaking up of the old mode of consciousness, or rather unconsciousness, is it something we have to do, or will it happen anyway? I mean, is this change inevitable? And this is the last part I'll read from this page that I just so happen to pull up. That's a question of perspective. The doing and the happening is in fact a single process. Because you are one with the totality of consciousness. I'm going to read that again. Because you are one with the totality of consciousness, you cannot separate the two. But there is no absolute guarantee that humans will make it. The process isn't inevitable or automatic. Your cooperation is an essential part of it. Your cooperation is an essential part of it. However you look at it, it is a quantum leap in the evolution of consciousness, as well as our only chance of survival as a race. I know. I think you should just replay that back. I did not plan to pull up this page, but I feel like this page in itself is already gives light, just a little bit of light, to what this book is all about. And so, again, it's a simple yet profound message of true happiness and peace and how it can only be found in the present moment. I'm going to say that again. It can only be found in the present moment. Even now, as I'm recording this video for all of you, I enjoy this so much. So much. And I love sharing with all of you the things that I'm learning and hoping that it's supporting you and guiding you in your journey. And when I think about this book, I think about, when I saw it in 1999 and I saw it again in 2019. No, 2000 and when was I in college, y'all? 2009, right? 10 years later, and now in 2024 to be like, hey, like I think it's time to pick up this book. And I think that's something to just realize is like this information, you can keep this book in your library. For this is honestly a classic. Something timeless should stay in your library for the rest of our lives. Because when you read a book, you could read it once and you're at a different season in your life. You read it again, you're at a different season in your life, and you'll always take different bits and pieces. And so for me, I'm always really about striving for a timelessness, not only, I mean, even as silly as like even my wardrobe, like a jean jacket will never die. This book will never die. The Bible will never die. And so that's what really brought me to this book because, as I'm studying the Bible itself, I am wanting to just make sense of the world, and what other spiritual teachers are talking about in the modern day, So this guy is not like Jesus, you know what I mean? But I think he's hanging out with the homies like Mother Teresa and Gandhi and Martin Luther King. So it's like, hey, I'm gonna read what they've come up with so far, And so again, this book has been around forever and it's transformed millions of lives worldwide. And so again, when we talk about being in the present moment, it's so simple yet profound. But the real question is like, why is it so powerful? Well, let's think about it. How often do we spend our time reliving our past regrets or worrying about future problems? That's literally every conversation I'm in, y'all. And I'm not sure if you know this, I'm a very curious person. And I love talking to people. I love people. But when I meet strangers who then become mild acquaintances, constantly talking about the past regrets that they have, and they're just worrying about the future and like what's going to happen. And I'm just like, I am so happy to be here with you right now. Because, like, the truth is, again, we could be anywhere else in the world right now. Again, you could be watching any other video in the vastness of the internet and the YouTube world, but you're here. And that to me, so special. So special. And so Tolle argues that this constant mental time travel is the root of our suffering. The root of our suffering. Again, this time travel is the root of our suffering. I think, for most of us, we're like, time travel is cool. Like, of course I want to time travel. But like, I challenge you. This is going to be the challenge of this video is keep track of, I would say, just grab a little notebook, just a little notebook, and divide it into three and put past, present, and future. And be so aware, practice being so aware and conscious of your thoughts. I know it's a practice. It's a practice, y'all. When you have a thought, think about, am I going to put a tally in the past, the present, or the future? And just like start seeing where your thoughts actually are leading you and guiding you. And so, again, remembering that this constant mental time travel is the root of our suffering. Okay. And then when we think about Buddha, I can't remember what his big thing, but doesn't want us to suffer, right? I'm sure it's something along with this, I'm sure they're all homies. So this book introduces the concept of the ego. And this is something that I think a lot of people don't actually know the definition of. It's still a working definition in me. I think a lot of times when we think about ego, we think about like confidence or cockiness or like, just like people are just full of themselves, right? But it's actually it's not just as self-importance. It's not about being self-important. It's actually our identification with our thoughts and the stories we tell ourselves. That in itself is already profound. This whole video can be about that. So it's not about our self-importance, but it's about the identification. I want to like think about that word because we talk about identities all the time, y'all. We talk about, and I'm just gonna use myself as an example. Okay, I was born as a woman. I have Pacific Islander Filipino background, or ethnicity, identify as masculine center person. I identify as queer, like identification, right? So I just want to give you perspective. It's not just, so ego is not just about self-importance. I mean, me even saying that out loud is how much importance I've put on what it means on being born in a female body, how much importance I've put on what it means to be Filipino, how much importance I've put on being masculine center, how much importance I've put on being Filipino. So the ego is not about self-importance, but as our identification with our thoughts and the stories we tell ourselves. So there's stories that come with these identities, y'all. And based off of, rightfully so, our experiences that we've had as humans. But there's been stories for eons of what it means to be in these vessels. And so I just want to really dissipate that ego is not about self-importance. It's about the identification with our thoughts, okay? With our thoughts. I want you to know you have a roommate in here that's living here rent free, completely controlling your life. And the reality is that roommate is like a monkey. That's why they call it the monkey mind, just kind of like everywhere, And so, and that monkey loves identifying with our thoughts and the stories we tell ourselves. And so we have to be so considerate of what stories we tell ourselves based off of events, right? So event, and I'm getting all passionate for y'all because I've just been really studying from different texts, and so I'm just wanting to share it with y'all because I really feel like it will just truly liberate you. So event is something that happened, and so when something happens, typically they say that there's three perspectives. It's your perspective, the other person's perspective, and the thing that actually happened. And so So what comes from that is stories that come from ourselves, from the person that was involved, people that were involved, and what actually happened. So we have to be careful about the stories that we create based off the events that happen to us, because they start creating our reality, and then we start identifying with it, and then we start identifying with our ego, this made up version of ourselves that we have just created. So Tolle suggests that this ego driven thinking keeps us trapped in a cycle of dissatisfaction. Trapped, just fully trapped in a cycle. And so just think about that, just over and over. Think about the stories when you meet someone new. What stories are you telling them about yourself? You know, whether wherever you fall in line as a sibling, whatever your astrology sign is, like whatever part of the world that you're from, what stories are you telling that are continuously creating your reality? So, depending, if those stories are ego driven, and that kind of thinking keeps us trapped in a cycle, you're just going to constantly dissatisfied. So this is the game changer, though. Tolle teaches that we are not our thoughts. I know. I'm going to say that again. We are not our thoughts. That monkey mind in there, that roommate in there that's living for free, we're not our thoughts. We're not our thoughts. I know that's really hard to grasp because there's a lot of thoughts. But there's one sticky note that I have. It says, amongst all the thoughts in your head, the thoughts about love are God. I know. So how do we dissipate all those other thoughts that don't have to do with love? I'm telling you, y'all need to get your tracker. And then you need to fold it into four. Fold it into four and be like, how many of your thoughts are really about love or fear? So again, Tolle teaches that we are not our thoughts. We're the awareness behind them. This realization is incredibly liberating once you grasp it. So you have this monkey mind, right? And then you have the real you watching the monkey. Imagine yourself sitting in a living room and you're just watching this monkey just like go all over the place. Oh my goodness, this monkey is wild. Wild. So when you actually take on the practice of that, we're the awareness behind the monkey mind, and we're just sitting in the living room with that monkey jumping all over the place, that realization itself is just liberating. And so I just want to share that because, we're all out here trying to be liberated. But man, yeah, we're trying to be liberated in these systemic societies and all these things and generational chains and in our families and, all of these movements. But do you even have this under control? Do you even have that monkey under control? So just something to think about. Yeah, you can be liberated out there. There are people who are liberated financially. There are people who are liberated sexually. There are people that are liberated in doing the things that they love. But what about right here? Are they liberated here? Because this is what's with us 24/7. Not the money, not the sex, the sexuality and all of that, not the stuff, but this right here. Are you liberated in here? So, one of the most impactful ideas in the book is the practice of presence. It's about fully engaging with whatever you're doing right now. So, like, even right now, I'm recording this video for you. I'm not perfect. I'm thinking of my roommate playing music right now. I'm thinking of the things that are happening in downtown San Diego. I'm thinking about, like, I need to go meet up with my friend for coffee because we're going to co-work. But I just felt so compelled to, like, record this video for all of you. So I was like, how do I just come back and be here with you, and knowing that time is time in this world, but I'm enjoying being here with y'all. Like it just gives me goosebumps, and I'm just excited for the person watching this, because I hope that it just sparks that fire that the world is trying to put out in you, y'all. The world is trying to put the fire out in you. And I want you to know that it never ever truly goes out, but it does become covered. And it becomes covered by our ego. by our identities, by the stories we tell ourselves, by living in the past and continuously festering depression in ourselves, and by living in the future, by festering anxiety in ourselves. But there's this light that's still flickering inside of you that's just been covered. And I'm trying to uncover that. If anything, I'm trying to spark just enough gasoline that you burn all of those up yourself. Just burn them all up, because you don't have to be that person that you've been telling other people who you are. You literally do not have to be that person. And in this moment, I don't even have to show up as the person I was 10 minutes ago. So that's what's so liberating about that. And so it's about fully engaging with whatever you're doing at the moment, whether it's washing the dishes or even having a conversation. And y'all, as I've been reading this book for the past couple months, it's a practice, and it's not easy in a world and in a culture that's going really, really fast. But man, our presence and being present is such a gift to not only ourselves, but to the people that we're actually with. It's something that so many people are so thirsty for, including myself. The things that I'm creating is because I miss people. One of the things that I'm creating for all of you is a daily digital decluttering course, because we're so addicted to our devices. I miss y'all. I miss y'all so much in terms of meeting with you and having conversation with you and being present with you. And it's so disheartening in my spirit when I'm with you and you're on your phone and your notifications are going off and you are all over the place besides with me. And I just want to help with that because I miss y'all. And if I miss y'all and I haven't even met you yet, I can only imagine the people in your life that actually know you and love you and care for you. And so to finish off this book summary, just know that mindfulness can dramatically reduce the stress and increase joy in our daily lives. And again, asking ourselves, are we being mindful, or is our mind just full? And how are we constantly and practicing emptying that out? So Tolle introduces the idea of the pain body, and that's the accumulated emotional pain that can be triggered in the present. I know right now we're all using the word that I'm triggered. Well, let's be real. What have you put? This is sensitive, but the reality is like, what have you put in your life gun that when you get triggered, you go off? That's really, for me, like what it means to be triggered. You know what I mean? Is because you're not emptying out your bullets on a daily basis. And that's why you're getting triggered every time you get bumped into what's actually being spilled out of you. So whatever you're practicing in the ordinary day, that's what gets bumped out of you. So if you're constantly identifying with the ego and all of these stories and all that stuff, and then when you see someone that doesn't look like you and fear starts to rise in you and you get bumped into by them, what comes out? What comes out? And again, that feeling of triggeredness, right? So by recognizing it, we can start to break free from old patterns. Old patterns, y'all. And I want you to know, if this is the first time you're watching this video, like, start now. Literally, it's start now. Start now in building that awareness that, okay, I have been trained and programmed to have these patterns. And so if I don't start now in undoing them, it's going to run the rest of my life. And I'm just going to constantly be in a cycle of dissatisfaction. So that's what I really love about this. It's just like, now, when's a good time? How about now? And what about when is another good time? How about now? And so you might be wondering, like, how do I actually practice this? So he suggests that simple exercises like focusing on our breath or feeling the aliveness in your hands, and that they can anchor us in the present moment. Like right now, this is one of my favorite activities right now. Rub your hands together. Remember when we were kids and we like rub our hands together, and like because our hands were dirty from playing on the monkey bars, like don't rub them that hard, but just rub them together. Like be very present with that. Like what fingers you're feeling, the index, the middle, the ring finger. And then start to slowly bring them apart and feel that warmth and that energy ball that you just created. And if this is the first time you're doing it, it's one of my favorite things. But look, you can't see it, but you can feel it. Isn't that so cool? But how can we just even be right now in that moment, be present with that? So, again, the exercises of focusing on our breath, feeling the aliveness in our hands and our feet and in our body, these can anchor us in the present moment. And so know that the book explores how being present can transform our relationships. Again, why I'm creating that daily digital decluttering course, because y'all, we are missing the point. It is all about our relationships. And unfortunately, this device is pulling us away from each other. And so when we're fully there with someone without judgment or mental chatter, oof, we create a space for genuine connection. Y'all, we are in a world of isolation and loneliness. And so when we're fully present with someone, without judgment, without all those identities and those stories of meeting this person and your brain trying to datify to make sure that they're safe and all these things, without all that mental chatter and that monkey just running around in your brain, and we get to be fully present with people, that's when genuine connection happens. Something that we all thirst for every day, every moment, and honestly, what we can't live without. So just remember that the goal isn't to never think about the past or future. It's just to choose when to do so. So rather than being controlled by our thoughts. So again, the goal is not to not think about the past and future. It's to choose when to do so rather than being controlled by our thoughts. Like you are in control, not your thoughts, not that monkey. Put that monkey on a leash, give it a body harness and bring it back down. So the power of now is packed with the insights that can radically shift your perspective. So I just encourage all of you to just check it out and experience the transformative power for yourself. It's a daily practice, y'all. I'm not perfect at it, but man, it has made such a difference in my life. And again, this book is repetitive. It's repetitive, trying to tell you the same thing over and over and over and over and over again in 100 and plus pages. That if we want to be truly liberated, how do we practice that presence and the power of now? All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this gave you some peace. I hope that you go pick up the book at your local library. And again, the activity and the challenge is to get a notebook to divide it into threes on one page and divide it into twos on one page. Okay. So on one side, you're going to start keeping track of your thoughts of the past, of the present, and the future. And then on the other side is asking ourselves, how many thoughts are we having that are being connected to love or being connected to fear? Okay. Just know that love is a higher vibrational thought. And then, of course, anything on the opposite is fear. And so you can look that up on yourself and just like look at vibrational feelings. I can't remember like the person or the whatever, but it's something that I'm currently practicing myself. Gratitude is up there, right? So, envy is down here. Do the quick research. You can do that. That's why you're on the computer. But regardless, if you end up getting the book, two things I need you to do, comment below, is you can tell me how long is eons for one. And the second thing is just what aspect of the book resonated with you most. It's a read, take it slow. What I like to do is I like to go on Spotify or Audible and I like to listen and read it at the same time because I think it immerses more of our senses so that um, it just sinks in more. And if you really want to go the extra mile, take notes because I don't know what it is. There's always power in the pen. So make sure that you take notes if you really want it to sink in. But again, like I said, it's really just going to be revolving around the same concepts. But you can see that the readers that are asking the questions that they've included in the book, they're just like, but what about this? And what about that? And how do I do this without thinking of that? So I think those are questions that are going to come up for you. And so know that it's included in the book. And that he'll have answers for you. And also, something else I want to share with all of you is that there is a little miniature practice book. So if you're just like, I don't want to dive into the whole book itself, you can get the smaller version where it's the essential teachings, meditations, and exercises from the power of now. So I just finished this book. I think it's so powerful that I was like, I need this is like the cliff notes. So I'm just like, I want to make sure that I'm practicing and reading it as it's continuing to seep into my new being. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you for being here. Again, I know that you could be anywhere else in the world right now, but you're here with me, and I so very much appreciate it. do the YouTube things if that's something that you're into. But if you also want to follow me on a more personal level, you can follow me on social media at K.Short. And also look forward to the daily digital decluttering project that's going to be coming out. Again, it's really bringing us back to each other and how to live a life with our devices, but also finding that balance and how to be in the present moment back with each other. So I miss y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate you. And I cannot wait to meet you, whether online or in person, in the near future. All right. Bye, y'all. Take care.